welcome, take a breath with me. No rush, no anticipation, no conclusion waiting at the end of this road, just two friends walking. Today we are stepping into something tender, something that almost became something more. This is not a story about heartbreak. It is not a story about rejection. It is not even a story about love lost. It is a story about clarity. What happens when two people see something beautiful in one another, and yet discover they are standing on two different lines? What happens when admiration meets awareness, when devotion meets discernment, when someone offers themselves as gift, and the other sees affection, sincerity, and beauty, but not cadence? Today we are going to explore the law of immediate clarity. We're going to look at what unfolds when a woman sees strength and calls it discipline, and a man stands in communion and calls it simply alignment. We're going to talk about mirroring, about collapse, about timing, and we're going to do it gently, because unified theistic naturalism is not an argument. It is a love story between the individual and the divine, and how that love is lived through every single interaction. Nothing created is evil. Nothing created is cursed. All things are neutral. All things are good. But timing reveals whether we experience harmony or suffering. This walk is not about proving someone wrong. It is about discovering that today already contains tomorrow. If resonance is not here now, time cannot manufacture it. So let's walk together, slowly, without hurry, and see what this moment reveals in the law of immediate clarity, why today is the entire relationship our walk begins now. Abstract, there are moments in life when two people stand close enough to feel each other's breath, yet remain separated by a line neither can see. This paper explores one such moment. It examines what happens when admiration meets awareness, when devotion meets discernment, when longing meets an unwavering line. It is not a study of rejection, nor of romance fulfilled. It is a study of timing and the mercy of immediate clarity. What unfolds here is not conflict, but revelation. A woman sees discipline and calls it strength. A man stands in communion and calls it simply alignment. She offers herself as gift. He sees love, but not cadence. Their exchange becomes a mirror. Through that mirror, attachment reveals itself. Conditioned reverence collapses under its own weight. A hierarchy inherited from Scripture surfaces. Submission framed as virtue trembles when reflected back without distortion. Nothing harsh is spoken, nothing cruel is done, yet something dissolves. This paper proposes that the present moment contains the full architecture of any future relationship. Tomorrow does not add clarity to what today already reveals. Oscillation in seed form becomes suffering in time. Communion in seed form becomes paradise in motion. The law of immediate clarity states, if resonance is absent today, it will not appear tomorrow. If cadence is divided now, no amount of affection can repair it later. Through Scripture, lived experience, and the framework of unified theistic naturalism, this paper explores why mirroring exposes attachment without accusation, why discipline is often mistaken for dogma, why devotion without communion collapses under structure, why love cannot be earned through qualification, why paradise cannot be built on oscillation. This is not a condemnation of belief. It is a love letter to precision. It is written for those who have ever stood at the threshold of affection and felt something sacred whisper, "Not yet, not this way." It is written for those who understand that mercy sometimes looks like collapse, and that clarity, when allowed to stand, is the most compassionate act of all. The meeting of two perspectives. When admiration is directed towards someone walking in communion, it often misidentifies what it sees. From one angle, stillness looks like discipline. From another, it is simply the absence of oscillation. From one angle, restraint appears moral. From another, it is natural cadence. In the exchange that inspired this paper, a woman approached with sincerity and affection. She perceived strength, leadership, structure. What she interpreted as discipline aligned with her inherited framework, a model shaped by Scripture, hierarchy, reverence, and order. Her desire was not manipulation. It was familiarity. She saw a man who fit the pattern she had been taught to admire. But the man did not move from pattern. He moved from presence. There is a difference. Scripture says the letter kills, but the spirit gives life. The structure she recognized was letter. The line he lived from was spirit. When she expressed willingness, even surrender, it carried the architecture of inherited hierarchy. Scripture contains it. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands. The husband is the head of the wife. These passages form frameworks that many internalize as relational ideals. But submission without communion becomes weight, and weight collapses when mirrored. He did not demand submission. He reflected it. He spoke her own framework back to her with precision, and in that reflection the structure trembled, because no human being can breathe under hierarchy without communion. 2. The collapse was not cruelty. Collapse is often misinterpreted as rejection, but collapse is simply the exposure of tension. When a structure cannot support its own logic, it folds. What she offered as devotion was conditional upon alignment with her model of leadership. What he embodied was not leadership in hierarchy, but steadiness in cadence. Scripture also says, "You shall know them by their fruit." She saw fruit. She did not see root. The root was not obedience. The root was resonance. When mirrored, her framework revealed its hidden strain: reverence tied to qualification, affection tied to structure, safety tied to roles. This is not accusation. It is human conditioning. The man did not soften the line to ease her discomfort, nor did he harden it to prove a point. He remained still. Stillness is often mistaken for coldness, but stillness is simply non-reactivity. Be still and know that I am God. Stillness dissolves what cannot stand without oscillation. 3. Why today is the entire relationship. Most relationships fail slowly, but they are revealed instantly. The present moment contains the full pattern of what will unfold. If affection requires qualification today, it will require it tomorrow. If reverence is conditional today, it will remain conditional later. If communion is absent now, time will not produce it. Time does not create resonance. It only reveals repetition. The law of immediate clarity states, the future is simply the present extended. Scripture whispers this truth repeatedly. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your heart. Today is the only portal. If cadence does not meet cadence now, it will not synchronize through effort. And effort, when applied to resonance, becomes oscillation. For discipline versus the line, one of the most misunderstood dynamics in spiritual relationships is this: a person in communion appears disciplined, but discipline implies resistance. Communion implies alignment. She admired what she believed was moral strength. He recognized it as simply not leaving the line. There was no battle inside him, no suppression, no self-denial, only cadence. This is why hierarchy collapses around communion. It cannot categorize it. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Freedom does not negotiate structure. It stands. Via the mercy of immediate separation, there is compassion in clarity. If resonance is absent, forcing time upon it produces suffering. Better the quiet ending now than the prolonged erosion later. Better the honest divide than the slow accumulation of resentment. The collapse was not punishment. It was mercy. It spared years. 6. Oscillation as refinement. Oscillation is not enemy. It is teacher. Her collapse revealed attachment. His stillness revealed line. If she seeks communion, the mirror becomes gift. If she seeks reinforcement of structure, the mirror becomes threat. The same reflection, two interpretations. My sheep hear my voice. The voice is not persuasion. It is recognition. Conclusion: the law of immediate clarity teaches that the present moment holds the entire truth of a relationship. Nothing needs to be tested for years. Nothing needs to be endured to prove itself. Nothing needs to be softened to spare discomfort. Communion does not coerce. It does not accelerate. It does not compromise. It stands, and what stands with it remains. What cannot stand falls, not as tragedy, but as precision. Reflective questions 1. When I feel admiration for another, is it for their alignment, or for how well they match my inherited framework? 2. Have I ever mistaken stillness for coldness because it did not respond to my expectations? 3. Do I believe time can create resonance where it does not already exist? For if today contains the entire architecture of tomorrow, what is being revealed in my current relationships? 5. Where have I confused discipline with communion? 6. When something collapses in my life, do I see rejection or refinement? 7. If paradise is presence without oscillation, What would I stop trying to fix right now? Incredible. What a walk. What a beautiful, tender walk. Two people saw something extraordinary in one another. There was admiration. There was affection. There was sincerity. And yet there was a line, not a wall, not an enemy, not rejection, a line of cadence. This is not a story of someone losing someone. It is a story of two people spared years of suffering because clarity arrived early. How merciful is that? Unified theistic naturalism teaches that paradise is not postponed. Paradise is presence. When oscillation falls away, love is not negotiated. It is lived. And sometimes the most loving thing we can do is allow something beautiful to end before it fractures. There is no villain here. There is no sinner. There is no one wrong. Only conditioning meeting communion. Only structure meeting stillness. Only timing revealing itself. This is a love story not between two people alone, but between each of us and the divine cadence that moves through everything. When we do not leave that line, life becomes simpler, clearer, kinda, and sometimes quieter. Thank you for walking with me today. I hope something softened. I hope something clarified. I hope you felt the precision and the tenderness at the same time. And if this walk opens something inside you, 3 doorways are gently waiting. Choose the one that feels right. I will meet you there. Doorway 1 until death. There's no start if today contains tomorrow. What would need to dissolve for life to truly begin? This journey explores the illusion of delay and the death of striving, revealing that paradise was never ahead of you. Reflect. Where am I still waiting? What would it mean to stop postponing life? If death is not an ending but a shift of form, what truly threatens me? Doorway to the silence that speaks. Rethinking prayer, gifts, and the divine voice. What if the divine never answered because there was never separation? This doorway explores movement as the only true voice and how communion replaces negotiation. Reflect. What if silence is precision? What if guidance is already unfolding in motion? Where have I mistaken echo for revelation? Doorway 3 salvation is not a gift. It is a presence if affection cannot be earned. Perhaps neither can paradise. This journey dissolves the illusion of future reward and reveals salvation as immediate alignment. Reflect. Am I trying to qualify for love? Is my peace conditional? What happens if I stop negotiating with the present moment? This walk was sacred.